Okay, let's dive in. If coffee is part of your morning, you might have noticed something's up with the global market. We're seeing prices surge, hitting highs we haven't seen in months. Robusta's getting close to, what, $4,100 a ton. And Arabica's climbing too. But the really interesting part, it seems like it's not just supply and demand this time. It looks like trade tensions, specifically between the U.S. and Brazil, are really stirring the pot.
Absolutely. It's fascinating, really, to see how all these threads supply, geopolitics, basic economics, are weaving together. They're reshaping the entire global coffee scene.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to kind of unpack this, understand what's driving these big shifts, and think about what it might mean for that cup you're maybe even drinking right now.
And these price surges, they're not small. The numbers are pretty stark. As of August 15th, 2025, London Robusta for September jumped 3.84%, up to $4,084 a ton. That's a two-month high.
Right.
And New York Arabica, the September futures there were up about 2.16%, hitting 326.5 US cents a pound. Even in Vietnam, a huge Robusta producer, domestic prices are shooting up, averaging around 114,800 dong per kilo now. It's a steep climb everywhere, it seems.
It really is, yeah. And this sharp rise, it boils down to a few key things happening at once. First, Brazil. They're a giant in the coffee world, right? But they've seriously cut back exports. Robusta exports, just as an example, dropped like a rock, 49% lower in July 2025 compared to July 2024.
Wow, 49%.
Yeah, and over the last 7 months, down 61% year on year. Arabica is down too, about 13% over that same 7-month period. And the major piece of this puzzle is the U.S. imposing that really hefty 50% tariff on Brazilian coffee.
Right, the 50% tariff. And the stated reason was about collecting more tax revenue for the U.S.
Exactly. That was the official line. Plus, you've got other market stuff happening.
Like what? I saw mentions of traders covering shorts and maybe some frost.
Yeah, exactly. So market dynamics play a role too.
Yeah.
You had traders covering short positions, basically, buying back coffee contracts because prices went up instead of down like they bet. That buying pushes prices higher. And then, yes, reports of some slight frost in Brazil. That always makes the market nervous about future supply, even if it's minor.
Okay, so it's a mix of policy, market mechanics, and even weather worries.
And tying it back to the U.S. side, the tariff revenue is, well, significant. In July 2025, the U.S. brought in a record $28 billion from tariffs overall. That's up 273% from the year before.
273%. That's huge.
It is. And with numbers like that, and the large national debt figure often cited, it makes it pretty unlikely those tariffs are going away anytime soon.
Okay, so faced with that kind of pressure, lower exports, high U.S. tariffs, what's Brazil doing? Are they just taking the hit?
Oh, no, it's definitely more strategic than that. The Brazilian government is stepping in with support, things like export credits, even buying up some of the unsold coffee. And their exporters are adjusting pricing in a really interesting way. They're actually offering lower prices to U.S. buyers, kind of to help offset that tariff cost. But then think, they're charging higher prices to markets in the EU and Asia.
Ah, so making up the difference elsewhere.
Exactly. It's a clear pivot. They seem to be actively trying to reduce their reliance on the U.S. market and build up relationships elsewhere. And China, notably, is becoming a much bigger customer for Brazilian coffee.
That is a fascinating strategic shift. Okay, so if Brazil is doing that, how are U.S. importers reacting? Are they scrambling?
Well, interestingly, not immediately. U.S. importers seem to be delaying shipments from Brazil for now. They feel they have enough stock on hand, maybe 30 to 60 days worth. So they're playing it cool for the moment.
Confident for now, but that could change if this drags on.
Precisely. And you see echoes of these tensions elsewhere, too. Like in India, there's been talk of campaigns boycotting some U.S. goods, pushing their own made-in-India products. It just shows how these things ripple outwards.
Right, it's never just about one product or two countries. Okay, let's bring Vietnam into this picture. They're the world's top Robusta producer. How are they fitting into this changing landscape? Their prices are up too, right?
Yes, Vietnam's domestic prices are definitely following the global trend upwards, which is initially good for their producers. But looking ahead, it gets more complex. If Brazil keeps pushing its coffee, especially its Robusta, towards the EU and Asia.
Then Vietnam could face more direct competition in those key markets.
Exactly. Particularly for the higher quality Robusta grades. For consumers, say in the US and EU, the most likely outcome is, unfortunately, higher prices on the shelf. And there's always the risk of more tariffs or maybe different kinds of import standards, creating more hurdles.
But could this also be an opportunity for Vietnam while Brazil is dealing with these disruptions?
Potentially, yes. It's a chance for Vietnam to maybe invest more in things like logistics, improve infrastructure, and really push to expand market share. They could emphasize their high-quality Robusta, maybe more value-added products to capitalize while Brazil's navigating these trade issues.
So summing up, it feels like the global coffee market is really caught in this cross-current of shifting trade routes, major policy decisions like these tariffs, and how we as consumers react. It's quite the shakeup.
It absolutely is. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? With all this intense competition and these big strategic shifts, what does the future hold for that coffee you enjoy every day? And where will it actually come from next time you buy it? Something to ponder.